the City of London is implementing incremental property taxes increases of around 8% a year, I believe, over the next 4 years, totaling just under 27% increase at the end of the 4-year term,
Wow,
Yeah,
Jeez.
is my understanding. This just came out.
that is massive.
Is that to catch up because they didn't do any increases since?
I think, yeah, during
Like
the
in
COVID.
2020,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
yeah. And the budget for the police department was
Mm-hmm.
enormous.
Mhm.
And granted needed,
Yeah.
because London falls as the third most crime-rated city in Canada, I think, or maybe
Yeah.
it was Ontario, but I mean, it was high, and response times have been terrible.
Yeah.
So warranted that they need more money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 8% for 1 year, I could kind of stomach, but
Right.
8% on average for 4 years, I thought was
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna hurt.
pretty exorbitant. And we're already, you know, taxed quite a bit higher than Middlesex County and Elgin counties, so.
Yeah.
We'll see how it's received.
Yeah,
I was
Yeah.
reading something interesting about the police department that were what is it, the lowest police per capita
I saw that as
in
well, yeah.
Canada or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if they hired 100 new officers,
yeah,
we'd still be below what we should be. So
yeah.
that
So,
explains.
you know, it is warranted. I mean, response times are terrible.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think it is overdue.
Yeah.
But, you know, you do the one-time hire in terms of equipment. Now, the you know, number of police officers, of course, then that's ongoing, because you gotta pay them every year.
Yeah.
Is that gonna be across the board though? Cause like new builds, like they're basically taxed right off the top, right?
That's a good question.
So I mean, for them to get
Mm.
like a 8% increase, that's a massive amount. Like if you got $1 million
Right.
property, you're already paying 10 grand in taxes
Mhm.
Right,
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot of ongoing debate for some time, but, looks like we're stuck with it for this year anyway.
The hits keep on coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
with okay, so we know that we need police.
Yeah.
But where do we have to cut back? Like where are we?
and they're
Because
already.
there is trimming that needs to be done within.
Yeah, and,
budgeting.
and they're already cutting back on a lot of things, and I think they've gotta watch their expenditures.
Yeah, they're over on the BRT by like what, 100 million or something like that?
How
Yeah.
much?
Yeah,
175 million.
175 million, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's, so my thinking there is, okay, are they just blaming it on that we need more police and they're just trying to recover the money that they spent that they shouldn't have spent? Or
yeah, how do you go over that?
by 175 million, like,
Yeah,
I could see like
Yeah.
1.7 million or
Yeah,
something
well,
like that, right?
Somebody should be accountable for that.
What
I
was
was
the,
just gonna ask that.
what was
Who's
the original
responsible for
budget
that?
For the BRT?
Well, I can't remember.
Yeah. I don't know. I am not up to speed on the
And the
BRT.
federal government said they're not kicking in any more money.
No.
They're like, we're
Yeah.
done with this, so.
They're focused on the housing initiatives.
yeah.
And so do
Yeah.
you think that'll put the BRT on pause?
So what I've heard already is that it's put some other projects on pause. So they were gonna at Oxford and Warncliffe, they were gonna redo that whole intersection. That's now on pause.
Yeah.
They were gonna widen Wonderland Road. That's now on pause. So they're just pushing back other projects, which
Yeah.
is unfortunate because both of those desperately need to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, traffic in this city is.
Well, at certain times, yeah.
Yeah.
At certain times, the city is just gridlocked because everyone's on the road.
Yeah.
It's almost like to help out with that, the businesses should be like staggered. Start time staggered.
Yeah, right?
You know what I
Wouldn't
mean?
that be
I
nice?
was like,
You guys
oh,
gotta
that
wait
place
till
doesn't
6,
open
you
until
gotta-
10.
Yeah.
We can only be open on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah,
Right.
no, but there is an issue, and there has to be a better solution than just making the roads bigger, because what they keep complaining about, like, let's take a look at California, all these cars on the road, they keep widening those roads, doesn't get any better. So there has to be a smarter, idea of, and response times, like if a cop's stuck behind who knows what, there has to be a different solution, right? It has to be a different solution. Like, I know, what are they doing there on Adelaide?
They're doing the underpass
the
finally.
underpass, yeah, so
Which they should have did 20, 30 years ago. But
Right,
so
at least
we're
they're finally getting to it.
going the right direction, yeah.
And to put things into perspective too, I mean, granted, on a busy Saturday, Wonderland Road.
Yeah.
You know, to go from Southdale to Fanshawe Park Road, is a slow ride.
Yes,
But a slow ride is maybe 30 minutes.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
So, you know,
I can be anywhere in 20 minutes.
yeah,
In the
yeah.
city,
So,
yeah.
so if you're living in Toronto, you know,
Yeah.
good luck getting, you know, getting 10 miles in an hour sometimes.
That's the
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
that's the
True.
thing.
That's true.
So, you know, we complain in London about the traffic, but, you know,
It
normal.
could be worse.
Yeah, and those of us that know our way around the city, as we
Right.
do,
Right.
you can usually take
Which we
all,
don't tell anybody about those roads.
we can usually take alternate routes,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
speed
Yeah.
up our time and
Yeah.
avoid the traffic
Yeah.
issues, but,
As
So-
long as you're there before the client,
yeah.
you're on
Yeah,
time.
that's right, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not as bad as some.
Right.
Yeah, we're a small city with the
yeah,
things that has big
yeah,
city problems
yeah.
sometimes.
yeah. And I
But-
find that in the university too, like taking my daughter to school in the morning, right, that stretch you were talking about. I always think there's an accident there because I'm like, why is this backed up?
Yeah.
It's the turning lane
Yeah,
Mhm.
Right.
onto
Yeah.
Springbank.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what's holding it up. And then finally you get through that gridlock bit and it's a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
So, and then the university's gridlock and students everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
2:30, that's the time for there,
find
but
there's a-
traffic.
Fair amount of drivers that will be, if there's 2 lanes and then a left-hand turning lane, the person in the middle lane leaves like 3 car gaps between them and the car ahead of them, and it blocks that lane too,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
drives me bonkers.
yeah, just pull up so you can get around.
Again, I'm not, we're probably not gonna solve it here, but I think there should be like a study of what let's say a European, like London, England, or another city, what do they do
Yeah,
Well,
to
they're-
get the traffic moving? Because they
they're-
got the population density.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their cities are designed for walkability, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so I'll pick on my neighborhood. I live in Old East, right, Adelaide and Central area, right, where they're doing the underpass. And you can't walk to anything. There is not, there's no grocery store, there's no fast food places,
That's
there's
true.
no clothing stores, there's nothing. So no matter what, you have to drive somewhere.
yeah,
which
London's
is-
always been a driving city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like even you look at Toronto, sure, they've got a ton of problems, but they have walkability too,
They do.
right? There's,
Yeah.
there's
You have
a
no,
lot of things.
no problem getting like a meal.
Yeah.
Like you can go almost anywhere and,
Yeah.
you know, pick your flavor kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I've got Tim Hortons I could walk to.
yeah.
That's
okay.
And
Yeah.
the drugstore is gone now there
Yeah,
too,
which is,
so,
it's a dollar store now, which
Yeah.
it's a Dollar Tree,
Yeah.
which,
It starts at $1 and grows.
yeah.
I want one of
so
those
it's
trees.
been, even the dollar store, it's been a slow ramp up. They're still getting
Yeah.
product in and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it
Yeah.
hasn't been that
Right.
great to go there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But with the greater intensity in the development, some of these neighborhoods are improving.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you are getting a lot, I mean, you're getting a lot more people living in a certain area.
Mhm.
I mean, I live close to the Commissioner's Wonderland.
Right.
And, you know, there is quite a bit within walking distance,
Yeah.
including Bank Park and grocery stores and,
Yep.
but then you get, you know, Wonderland and Southdale and all the high density that's going in that area, but you've got everything really within walking distance.
Mhm.
I lived at Wonderland in South
Yeah.
Hill as well, and it
Yeah.
was, I walked to the grocery store, I could walk,
Yeah.
get food, it was great, like it was,
But I think, you know, we need to change some of our habits too, because as much as so many things are within walking distance, I typically jump in my car.
Yeah.
There you go.
that's
Yeah.
true as well, yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're a ways away from being able to ditch the cars in
Yeah.
London, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
we're not there.
Yeah.
and what do you think of the roundabouts that they're doing then to solve traffic? I mean, if you know how to use them, it's great, but it's,
I love them.
and I love them
I
too.
love
Well, you're from the
It's-
KW region,
Well, yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you're used to
We're
them.
used to that now.
It's interesting to see people trying to figure out how to use them and
Yeah.
nervous and hesitate and,
The hesitation is what, I
Yeah.
think, because it almost throws you off, right?
If
And then you
you're, if
get
you're
the-
at a busy time of day,
oh
and
yeah,
you get one person that won't be maybe, and I won't even say aggressive, but just, you know, there are times you've gotta just edge in.
You gotta jump in
And
there.
you
Fit
get one
in,
person waiting and all of a sudden, you
You
know,
get
we're
backed
backed
up,
up
yeah.
and,
yeah,
and on a busy time of day, I mean, unless you move, you're not gonna get in.
no,
No, you're not, yeah.
It's
So-
like a 4-way stop instead of
Yeah.
a roundabout.
they do,
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah.
But that's, you know, that's maybe one thing where I think maybe the city has moved too quickly. I mean, the amount of money the city has spent on these roundabouts is enormous. And then, my pet peeve is where they put, like, for example, Commissioners and Rideout, where they put that concrete barrier in, so you've got the bicycle,
Yeah,
you've got the bicycle lane,
Yep, that you have
And-
to turn around it.
and instead of, you know, just putting maybe a, you know, those
Green,
pylons that stick
yeah.
up or something, or even a concrete barrier,
Yeah.
but they've gone
Juts
out too
out.
far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And there's another case where, how many of those have they put around? They spent over $1 million
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
just on that. And
Yeah.
I've seen snowplows and I've seen cars that are having a hard time
What about buses?
making that turn, let alone buses.
Yeah,
yeah,
Buses,
buses, yeah.
So again, that wasn't well thought out.
And in my
in my
neighborhood now,
opinion.
you can't turn right on any red light
oh, really?
because of the bus lane,
Mm-hmm.
or the bike lanes.
I didn't
Oh.
know that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
almost all the streetlights around Dundas and Adelaide area, they've all got no turning on reds
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Maybe I just
Okay,
haven't been
that'll-
looking at those signs.
Nobody stops. Nobody
Well,
actually follows
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Until they start putting up cameras.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I, you know,
right.
I think having having bike lanes is great, but unfortunately, we're not a city. I mean,
Yeah.
how many bikes have you seen? I mean,
It's-
today
yeah.
it's
So
a
I-
beautiful sunny day and I haven't seen a bike
No.
lane.
Yeah.
And I
No.
was a cyclist, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just wouldn't happen. It's just
No.
not gonna happen.
It's not safe.
It's
It's
not.
between the traffic and the likelihood of it being stolen.
No,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, my mom used to bike to the Y all the time, and she had, I think, 3 or 4 bikes stolen right from the Y. They've
Oh,
got the,
geez.
you lock it up outside, which the Y's actually now moved the bike lock up inside. So you bring your
Yeah.
bikes inside and lock it up, because it was, somebody would just come with a cutter and
Easy.
boom, there you go,
Yeah,
done.
done,
5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, your bike's gone.
yeah.
I actually looked on Home Depot, and they don't call bolt cutters anymore, they call them bike retrieval.
Yeah.
It's in a new section.
I'm like,
Right.
funny with those roundabouts too. Are they teaching that in driver's ed?
I would think
And
so,
testing
I
on
would
it.
hope so.
So
anyways.
Testing on
who
it.
I've seen that done a great job with it, and we don't have to go too far, is St. Thomas.
Yeah.
St. Thomas,
Yeah.
they're making it number one, enjoyable to go through a roundabout by putting those artistry type of
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
things up there. It's
Yeah,
actually
is.
like it moves traffic.
Yeah.
It's a good way of doing it. You know what I mean? And we don't have to go too far to learn about
The
it.
roundabouts there, like the one on Sunset, is actually like much larger than the one
It's
facing
wide.
down Colonel Talbot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's easy in, easy out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
awesome.
like it, and I also no, I'm not driving a truck, but like let's say one of those even cube vans, you know that have that's a tight turn that they have to make through and get around the whole bend before they get off, right? So they should almost use more space to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
think people would be okay with that.
yeah.
We should start roundabout reviews.
Yes.
There you go.
Now we don't know about the
Like the-
situation.
You dash
The
them
one
up.
by pizza reviews would be like the one circle roundabout review.
This one's great.
The best one's on Hale, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
best, that's the best
Yeah.
roundabout so far.
Oh,
Top
yeah,
real time.
yeah.
But the ones that they've
Vulgar.
put in,
That was the first one, wasn't it?
yeah, it was the first
Yeah.
one and the nicest
Big
one.
edge left.
It's got
Yeah.
like it's got the art in the middle.
They put a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
thought into
that's
that
right
one.
too.
The
Yeah.
ones I've noticed in residential areas, they kind of retrofitted intersections. I feel bad for people whose driveway back into
Oh wow.
the
Oh,
roundabout.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's noticeably, because I pulled out of one and you don't have a lot of room to navigate before you hit that,
Yeah, I never
bump,
thought
like
of
that
that.
concrete
I feel like
abutment.
Yeah.
it's a matter of time before we see like a bylaw video of Dave Dykeman reversing through a roundabout because
Oh,
of a
reversing,
driveway.
yeah.
Reverse drifting.
Yeah.
No, but I
Just
like what
drifting
the
the
city's doing
roundabouts,
though.
yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
they're thinking ahead.
Yeah.
How do we move traffic? Like
Yeah.
they're I think it's a good thing. It's
Yeah.
not
It is a good
closed-minded,
thing.
it's more
Yeah.
open-minded.
Yeah.
So that's
I would
good.
way rather
Yeah.
do a roundabout than sit at a red light.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I do find like with people just getting their license, like my daughter's 18 and she won't take a roundabout because she's like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
My grandma.
And
does
I've
that
tried
too.
to explain, she's
Yeah.
like, no, I'll go the long way, it's fine, okay. It's fine.
That's what I felt like in Ireland. I took the roundabout
Yeah.
the wrong way.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
Jesus.
Oh, that could happen.
Reminds me of European vacation, Big Ben, Parliament,
Yeah.
Big Ben.
Yeah.
You can't get out of it, oh my God.
Yeah, those are big ones. The
Yeah.
3-lane,
Yeah.
4-lane
Yeah.
roundabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going the opposite. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going
Yeah.
a
The wrong
different
way.
I thought-
No, no, we're
Yeah.
not saying that. We're not gonna start that.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I remember I was driving. Number one, you're just sitting in a different part of the car, and then you're just. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Same thing
Yeah.
in Ireland.
Fortunately,
yeah.
it wasn't that busy.
Oh, good. Yeah, okay.
You're brave to drive in
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
place.
That was fun, it was fun, it
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah.
So did everybody have a great weekend in real estate?
Yeah.
Big weekend for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing things pick up?
Lots of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, really picking up with questions, showings booked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Interest.
And offers
Yeah.
coming in on properties that have been on
Yeah.
the market for a while,
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing more of that, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And good for
That's good.
buyers too, because we've got,
For buyers.
you know, we've got close to a couple thousand properties in our
Mm-hmm.
jurisdiction in
Mhm.
terms of inventory, whereas a couple of years ago, we had, you know, we'd have less than 200 in a given month.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
So,
starting to see,
Some good opportunity.
starting to see some offers on some of the luxury properties too,
Yeah.
which I know we saw a drop in inventory in that, but we were over 60 months of inventory for everything above 1.5 million, which, you know, if 10 years ago you told me that, I'd be shocked if there's anything in that price range.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
but now we're starting to see multiple offers again in that price range as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is impressive.
And I have noticed over the $1 million price point that you see some prices coming down to by 100 grand, 200 grand, like just watching
Yeah.
certain neighborhoods, right?
So I have a buyer in the same thing, and
Mhm.
I have a good relationship with the listing agent. He's giving me the heads up. It's like, yeah, we're coming down in price, just below the million type of thing. So it makes it easier for my buyer to like now really take a look at it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those markets where it really doesn't hurt to throw something on paper and get it in, just in
Right.
case.
That's
Yeah.
my number
You
one.
don't
I would
want to-
definitely recommend that right now.
Yeah, they might have already been having that conversation with their clients, and it
Yes.
just reinforces that belief too, right? If
Yeah,
it's
that's
slightly
true.
overpriced.
I believe that being aggressive right now before any additional rate increase, decrease, whatever, while it's kind of holding firm is a good time to be pretty aggressive.
Mhm.
I feel like any minor adjustments downward on the rate is gonna surge the market,
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah,
That's,
Yeah.
I'm seeing so many people reach out being like, oh, rates are gonna come down, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait or whatever, and as soon as they come down, like, it's just gonna be a fire hose of people coming out of.
do you think
Yeah.
that they're gonna come down?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a matter of time now. The US just posted a massive jobs number last week, so that's not a good sign for rates coming down sooner than later. I think the US will drop rates before we do, so that's kind of pushed them back another meeting,
Yeah.
which probably puts us somewhere in June or July.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's second or third quarter before
Yeah.
we see much of a change. But right, anybody looking right now, take a variable rate mortgage.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
When the rates come down, you're gonna take advantage of the lower rates, and
Yeah.
I think everyone's in agreement, they will come down.
yeah, it's a good strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, the spread between the variable and the fixed is still pretty big right now, so you
Yeah.
might have to drop a full percent, but
Yeah,
to see that benefit. But I mean, you're talking a 5-year term, right? So what's going to happen over the next 5 years?
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
projecting out 3 or 4 years is a little bit hard, but I mean, over the next year or two, yeah, it should drop
yeah.
pretty significantly. Now, are we going to get back down to 2%
No,
rates? Probably not.
No.
no, I don't think that we'll ever go back to that.
So,
No.
should we
unless we
even
have
been there?
another. Yeah, no, I don't
That's-
think we should.
that's the other question,
I do
yeah.
think dropping it to
Yeah.
where they dropped it was a bit of a mistake.
Yeah.
I think all of the
They caused it, I
Federal
mean, they
Reserves,
added
yeah.
to it at least, they caused
Yeah,
it.
they all kind of panicked with COVID, right? Nobody knew what was going to happen. We've never been through a pandemic like that before, at least not in modern times, right? So they panicked, they dropped rates, they pumped the market full of cash, particularly in Canada. And obviously, if you're adding more cash to the economy, that causes inflation. And I actually saw a TikTok where is a guy using money and a rubber band to explain it, and basically he drew lines on the band and said, if you're on this side, that's the poorer side of the economy, and then if you're on this side, that's the richer side. And as you put money into the middle, it just spreads out like this, right? So the richer get richer, the poorer get poorer, and that's exactly what we've seen.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, it's caused home prices to skyrocket.
right.
And
No.
going back to the interest rate change, like supply hasn't really been solved either. We're not building tons of homes. Actually, new home starts are down
Absolutely.
compared to last year. So if the rates do go down,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gas on the fire again, I think.
I agree with you. I'm personally not a fan of reducing the rates, personally, but
Yeah.
Unpopular opinion.
it is
that
an
makes
unpopular,
sense.
it's an unpopular opinion,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
It does make sense. I mean, we've seen with the rates where they are, that home prices have fallen down. They're much more affordable than they were
Yeah.
even just a year ago.
Yeah.
You can actually find houses in London for under 500,000 now that are in pretty
Yeah.
good shape. They're in good
Yeah.
neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, that was non-existent a year
Yeah.
ago, right?
I think
So-
if with these rates, when you're looking at kind of the lower to middle end of the market, you're seeing that it's actually helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's hurting more on the higher end of the market.
Yes, it is.
Mm.
Anything under $700,000 just in London right now is still technically a seller's market.
Yeah.
Like it's under 3 months of inventory, right? It's actually on the lower end of the twos.
Is it
So
3
it's-
months?
Yeah, 3 to 4
I
months.
thought it
of
was like
balanced
9
market.
months for buyer's market.
It depends on how you do your monthly sales. So I do a business quarter, 90
Okay.
days.
Okay.
So with 90 days of sales,
Mhm.
we're at like 2.2 months of inventory at about 600 to 700,000, and then drops below that as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
But then it skips right to a buyer's market after that. So
Hmm.
it's definitely impacting the higher price homes
Mhm.
with regards to price and time on market.
Never known a buyer's market.
And definitely anything, you know, if
What's
you're
a
looking
buyer's
at
market?
7 months of inventory, you're in a buyer's market.
Yeah, yeah, around those numbers, yeah.
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 Yeah, we've seen that many occasions.
When I
But,
first started.
Well,
yeah,
and
it
even
was-
a year ago in the, you know, let's say the 1.2, 1.5, I mean, there was a period of time we had like 30 months worth of inventory.
Yep.
I mean, it was enormous, but nothing was moving in that price range, so a bit of an anomaly in that sense, but, no, it's already, the market's already picking up in Mississauga, the Toronto area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know it's gonna filter through this way, plus our region is seeing more employment opportunities, more, you know, increase in manufacturing
Yeah,
than we saw for, you know, a 20, 30-year period.
Right.
So, London region is gonna continue to expand. Southwestern Ontario
Yeah.
is gonna continue to expand.
I
Yeah.
think our industry is also becoming the kind of the hot potato or political football type of thing as we move towards the election. It seems to be the
Yeah.
number one item that both parties seem to be focused on right now to get the vote.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
Just in terms of builds, making home, you know, a little bit more affordable. I mean, I don't personally see solutions in what they offer, but I know that that's going into the election.
Yeah.
That both parties that are running, the main parties this is something they're gonna
It's
stand on for
It's
sure.
gonna be the biggest issue for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
yeah.
next to, you know, foreign issues, but
Yeah.
domestically.
And then, now can you actually fix it though, right?
Yeah.
That's, because as much as the government's like, oh, we control the house, it's really about builders, right?
Mhm.
If you're
It
not
is.
building enough, then,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter how much money they give in the accelerator fund that they're going around promoting right now.
No, and as long as there's lots available, developers aren't gonna wanna develop more until
Absolutely.
the inventory decreases. Builders have been shy since rates have gone up to build more because they've got product sitting. And they had a lot of product that wasn't closing. It was
Exactly.
sold and people couldn't close because they
Yeah.
could no longer qualify.
Yeah.
So you can't blame the builders for not moving
Can't
forward.
blame them.
So until the market starts to catch up, you know, that's what we're gonna see. We saw it back in the early 80s and then again in the early 90s. So, not surprising.
And
you know,
personally, I don't
where-
think the builders actually have that much incentive to overbuild, right?
Oh,
Because
absolutely
They
not.
don't, if you're building a home for 500,000 and then you build too many of them,
Yeah.
now you gotta sell them for 400,000. I mean, that's not really good
They've
for
been
the
through
builder,
that.
right?
And they had their issues with the cost of materials too. They
Yeah.
couldn't even
Yeah.
bank on,
yeah,
Yeah.
number one, is the material gonna show up for the closing,
Yeah.
so they can get paid to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Or what did I actually pay for it? So, and then you can't go back on your contract.
No.
You know, like you're almost
Yeah.
backwards on until everything settles, that comes back down.
Yeah.
But if we're taking a look at, well, how do we start it off? We need more money for the city, and we're raising it 8% or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, we need more population for the city to spread that wider as well, because it's gonna hurt a lot of people if all of a sudden you're paying this much more taxes and your mortgage is up too, the cost of living is up too.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. The thing is we need to influx of people to come here.
Yeah.
That's what we actually need.
yeah. And with the builders as well, that's the tough thing too, because affordability, right? They can't put a product out probably under 700,000 unless it's a condo.
Yeah.
And right now, like the average person can't qualify on their own for 700,000 with 5% down at an average, career,
Yeah.
Yeah.
average pay. So even a good paying job,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's the tough thing. Like they can build all they want, as much as they want, but who's gonna buy them?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
That's why you see a lot of the
Yeah.
new developments in the downtown area with the buildings, a lot of them are rentals.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's- I think
Yeah.
that, I don't know if there's initiatives to build to rent type of arrangements with builders, but I feel
I
like there's a
do,
lot of that
I
happening.
think London does have a rule that there's a specific amount of the units that have to be affordable rent. So it's like, I don't know, maybe it's 10%. That could be wrong on the percentage, but I know that they do have to have a certain amount that are affordable rents. But I mean, it seems like every single new building that they're building is luxury rentals, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
no one is
Executive,
building those cheap rentals for the average person now.
yeah.
The Housing Accelerator Fund is for purpose-built rentals as well.
Oh,
But
right.
The problem is how I understand it, and I could be wrong, is that the cities make a proposal. This is what we're going to do, this is our plan, and then the government approves it and gives them the money, but then there's no accountability after that either. And so the housing minister, actually shortly after he did his announcement in London, was caught saying, well, we're not building homes in bad neighborhoods.
Right.
So it's like, it kind of
We have investments to make.
yeah, it's, I don't know. And then on top of that, there's also, London is the second highest vacancy rate for downtown core for businesses as well.
Right.
So I saw
Yeah.
something about that with conversion to residential, which is another whole thing. That's a hard thing to do.
Kitchener's done a
because
lot of that, actually.
Windows
Yeah,
and
we did that.
building,
There-
building code.
They're the one on Dundas and Richmond, the Rexall. That's
Oh,
a new
yeah,
owner
that's
there is
right.
putting apartments into that building.
Oh,
on the
yeah.
upper floor.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We need a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
That's a
and
good idea.
they did address that in the mayor's State of the City address, where they are gonna be putting more into conversion and more incentives for,
Which is good.
for,
Yep.
owners in the core, because 30% vacancy, I mean, I don't
And
think we've ever hit that
We've been
number.
trying to revitalize the downtown for what, 20, 30,
Yeah,
Yeah.
30 or 40 years, maybe
Yeah.
longer, I don't know. And really, the only way to save the downtown is more people that live there, right? If you go there to work, you're gonna show up, maybe it's 9 to 5 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna grab your coffee on the way in, maybe you grab lunch, and then you go home, right? You're not gonna shop downtown after work, you're gonna stop off
Yeah.
at the mall or
No.
those little shopping centers, right?
and if you get people living down there that also work down there, that alleviates some of the traffic congestion
Yeah.
as well.
Absolutely.
And they're gonna go out for dinner, they're gonna,
Yeah,
Yeah.
And if people are
Spend
able
more
to
time
do the
there.
conversions from some of the older buildings, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like a lot of the condos now, you can't tell one unit from another, right?
Right.
They might have certain amenities at the building that are great, but a lot of the units look very similar. With those conversions, you have an opportunity to kind of do something a little bit special. Like it could be a
I was gonna
unique
say
look
that.
that maybe it's like an awesome loft or
Yeah.
a studio that you just can't find anywhere else in the city,
Yeah,
or
for
you know,
sure.
any nearby cities.
I always thought the old Central Library, that'd be a really cool place
That
to
was a
beautiful
have
building.
condos in, right?
Yeah.
Like the front facade and where it is and,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great
but,
location.
yeah.
yeah. And that was another thing that was talked about at one point in time. Currently, the city has in place relief on property taxes for some of these vacant buildings or vacant space. And doing away with that, because it's almost a disincentive for the landlord to rent space if they can get a reduction in taxes.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean,
and a lot of them are just using it as a expense anyways, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
You see Far East got
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
a
vacant
lot
buildings.
of vacant buildings. He's also got a lot of rented buildings too. Like he gets a
oh, yeah.
bad rap for all the vacant buildings, but I mean he's still one of the largest landlords
He's filled out the Bell building that
Absolutely.
when
in
Yeah.
London.
I
so-
worked there, and it was empty, basically,
Yeah.
by the time I left.
Yeah,
right?
so-
Yeah.
It's full again.
People don't give him any credit for that. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'll use that like the old library as a
Yeah.
tax write off to offset
Yeah.
from the other ones. Which
And I think part of it too is when you see the vacancies, it's something that's visible. You see the for these signs, for sale signs, all that stuff. But when somebody has filled a building
You don't see
You don't,
it,
you
right?
don't see, a mural on the side said, this one's
The
for rent
building's
now.
full,
yeah.
Thank you, realtor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's actually amazing how many buildings though that I'll walk around and you'll notice that it is Far E Holdings Corp that owns it, and you're like, oh, they
Yeah.
own this building too.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done all right.
It's
Yeah.
done okay.
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of farmland.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think we're already, like, London downtown is already set up for something great, you know what I mean? Like, the Covent Garden Market, that's such a
That is,
Yeah.
stopping place, stopping ground to, like, get your groceries from there, the incentives to do that. Look at the center, you can do entertainment to hockey to performances, everything, like,
Yeah.
everything's there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the building blocks of it, and not to mention that we have that beautiful park right around the river.
Harris
Like-
Park.
Yeah.
You have everything. We have all the building
Yeah.
blocks to
Yeah.
Yeah.
make this great, and it's just
So that part of the downtown is changing,
yeah.
changing quickly.
Yeah,
And then,
it
of
is.
course, you've got that other, the newest building that's still under construction, the highest one in the
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
And then you got the other York Development
Yeah.
property, which, two different buildings. One's gonna be about 44 stories, and the
Mhm.
next is gonna be about 56.
Right.
And that'll be the tallest building
Right.
between Toronto and Calgary.
Where are those ones going?
Right,
On
where,
King Street?
Where the
yeah,
health
where
center was.
the Middlesex Health
Middlesex
Unit.
Health, yeah.
Kitty corner from the.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
Friend of mine
Again-
lives in the building across, so
yeah, so
Yeah.
great location, so there will be other things
Mhm.
happening down there.
Yeah.
And eventually a food store within walking distance as well.
That's
They've
yeah.
always been
Yeah.
missing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what we need, like the densification will really help downtown. You add more things that people can walk to and
Yeah. And affordability, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're
More
building
supply
high
house.
rises and,
Yeah.
yeah.
the one thing that I noticed cause I lived in Kitchener for like 6 months, that I noticed there that London doesn't really have is Kitchener has 3-story walk-ups everywhere, all over the place. It doesn't matter whether it's like a higher end neighborhood or a lower end neighborhood, they've all got a few of them in there, and I think that is something that London needs to do, just because it would provide more units in a smaller space. And
And still not be like
Doesn't affect the sightline.
Yeah,
it's not a
exactly.
massive
Yeah.
building. They're basically the same height as the other buildings around it. And
You're starting to see more of that in redevelopment within
Yeah.
existing neighborhoods. You know, Commissioners Road, you see some things happening there and different spots in
Yeah.
Old South.
Yeah, Old
um,
South, yeah.
Yeah, so we're starting to see it.
Mhm.
You know, it's not always popular for people that are living there,
No,
but again, that
nobody
was,
wants to be there. doing
yeah, and that was
construction.
something that the province wanted to address and the city wanted to stress, the whole, not in my backyard thing. You know, it just doesn't fly when
It's
you
got to
need
be
it.
in somebody's backyard.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And it's interesting because you do have those pockets like Wortley and Byron and Old East, little pockets. They're really cute little villages
yeah,
like they have in Toronto. It's just too bad that you can have even more,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, even in the newer areas, like where I'm living right now, I could walk to the grocery store, I could walk to the gym, but I don't.
That's what I
It would
noticed.
probably
with-
take me 25, 30 minutes and I wouldn't want to go to
I'm-
the gym anymore.
I'm noticing with a lot of the newer
The walk would be
developments.
the gym workout.
A lot of the newer developments too, the first thing that goes in now is that kind of, I don't want to call it strip mall, but they get the restaurants and stores and everything.
Yeah.
They build in the plazas first and then make sure that they build around it. That's
Yeah.
what I'm noticing, right?
Yeah.
I went to a Taco Bell the other day that I was like, I've never seen this Taco Bell ever before on Sunningdale. So,
Well, look at what's happening in West 5.
yeah.
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 You know, there's
Yeah.
a great example. You've
Great
got,
example.
you've got good intensity,
Yep.
you've got good commercial development, everything was just kind of falling into place.
Yeah.
So, I think planning is doing a good job in how the new neighborhoods are developing for the most part.
Yeah.
They're not getting everything right, but had my first experience with Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
on Sunday.
And,
It was not on a Sunday, no, guaranteed.
well, and again, there's an example. Personally, I don't get it, but, tried it once because it seemed like the thing to do. But there's talk about planning. So the city is looking at all these new developments, all these new retail. They want them built close to the road.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the sidewalk and then landscaping and then the building.
Yep.
Whereas you go a few blocks further north and, where, TD, CIBC, RBC, where all
Yeah.
those, and you've got, you've got that, but then you've got a little bit of parking.
Mhm.
So in their wisdom, because they want everything close to the road, I noticed that the drive-through
Yeah.
goes the only
Through.
place it can go.
The Tim Hortons.
And then you've got the handicap parking is further away.
Oh,
And then people have to navigate through the drive-through traffic, which is ridiculous
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
particular location. And then if it's raining or if it's icy,
Yep.
which it was, more of a nuisance where, what was wrong with the strip a little further
Yeah.
to the north
Yeah.
where you had a couple of aisles of parking in that
They
area.
need to get their own driveway.
And they still had landscaping,
Yeah,
and then
right,
the drive-throughs worked, because, let's face it, I mean, whether it's Tim Hortons or Chick-fil-A or the other restaurants or banks.
Starbucks.
Starbucks,
Well, the Starbucks down the
I mean,
street in the
how
apartment
many,
buildings.
how many of them have drive-throughs? I
Yeah.
mean, huge number.
Yep.
And those drive-throughs, the new Tim Hortons and the new Chick-fil-A, I mean, it's a disaster trying to get in and out, and it's a disaster for pedestrians.
That's true.
That
Yeah.
Starbucks at the bottom of the apartment building on Richmond Street, just south of here.
Yeah,
The
the,
parking, it's got like 4
Mark
parking spaces out
it's
front,
called- yeah,
and nobody looks when they go in or out. That's a death trap.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna get killed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
People are flying
And
down
they-
Richmond Street.
They didn't even have parking there before.
Yeah.
And then you'd get someone pulled over an Uber or
Throw the car right
Amazon,
Coming around a corner.
and
too.
that would cause a bottleneck as well.
Yeah.
And just pull out
Yeah,
without
I see
looking
people doing
either.
3-point turns
Yeah.
to get to the Starbucks and out of the Starbucks on Richmond Street in
Yeah.
traffic, and it's chaos.
Yeah.
Richmond and
that's-
where?
It's like it's just south of here,
I
like
think
down
it's
by
called-
restaurants. Those
Oh.
apartments where
The
Oh, yeah,
Mark.
yeah, I know the one.
Yeah,
okay.
I
Yeah.
think it's called the Mark, there's
I'm not
student
sure. There's actually a
apartments.
parking lot across the street, but nobody
Yeah.
uses it. Everyone will just pull a handbrake turn to get into a parking spot in front of the road in traffic. No blinkers. It's chaos.
Oops. Yeah. And so what was the purpose of building them closer to the road, do you know? Like
It was just aesthetics. They just thought,
Yeah.
this would be, better, I guess. It would make it more neighborhood friendly, but, it's not like,
maybe it's a space thing.
it's not like some of those
Yeah.
villages in Toronto where, they're parked there, but then they've got, they've got parking issues. They've got lots of street parking. Well, you can't street park on Wonderland Road.
No, no.
So, I mean, it's a different
I
situation.
wonder if they're trying to increase the walk score, but in doing so, they decrease the drive score.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think with
Yeah.
the Chick-fil-A, there's the development next to it, which is a Mr. Lube.
Yeah.
And I think once that's done, they'll open it up so you can get in
Yeah.
direct,
Oh, yeah,
I
Maybe
think.
that, yeah.
But
Makes
they
sense.
just have to build
yeah.
whatever's going in next beside it.
And
Yeah,
is,
because that's chaos trying to get in there.
is it
Yeah.
still busy?
Oh, yeah.
At there? Yeah, I know
It's
when I
the-
first went, it
it's
was
the hot
when
thing
it-
in town.
Yeah, and they were
Yeah.
directing traffic, but
Again,
I don't know
it's-
what the,
I had no idea what it
Spelling
was. I've
it's-
never been to one in the
Yeah.
States. I've never, but,
It's
it's,
in the
States.
It's chicken.
it's
Yeah.
a chicken on a bun. It's
Yeah.
a fast food
Yeah.
place. I mean, it's,
yeah,
is it any better than
No.
McDonald's, Wendy's,
Wendy's.
or,
Yeah.
probably
All the
not.
other-
Is it any cheaper? That's the real question.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I personally, not to knock the owner, I mean, he's done a good job, and
Yeah.
he's, but, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I can't recommend it, where there's a lot of, nice restaurants in the city to go to.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh,
My stepdaughter is a manager at the Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're turning over staff pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
insane.
Yeah.
it's super busy. So.
Yeah.
I love that that came out right after you said that, after Jack said that he can't recommend it.
I wouldn't. I've heard the same from a lot of people.
I never
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they love it,
Yeah,
and then
It's almost got like a cult following to it.
yeah,
it's not very. They
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it, but there's things they do to the chicken that I'm like,
yeah.
to enhance the flavor.
Do
right?
tell.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think fast food and what they do with stuff, right? So,
I went to one in the airport in Atlanta where it was first originated in Atlanta. And I was like, what is this all about? Like, you don't even get, like, is there mayonnaise on this bun?
let's go to Chick-fil-A.
And so I went to the one in London when it first opened. It was good because it was probably more fresh, but it still was.
It's the new
Yeah,
thing right now.
yeah, it's the new thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people are interested, and
Yeah.
yeah, maybe the fact that it's not open Sunday attracts
thing.
people to go there. I
The
don't know.
only time I want to eat chicken.
Sunday.
Sunday at church time.
Yeah. God, are you old enough to remember when all the stores, nothing was
Yep.
open on a
Yeah,
Sunday?
I
I
remember
know
that.
town
Everyone.
is so small that our gas stations close at 2 o'clock on Saturdays. So I'm not gonna get it until Monday.
Oh, that's
That's
old.
rough.
Yeah.
See, but somehow I
Well, I
see
guess
this.
I'm not going anywhere for the weekend.
Isn't Montreal still doing that? Isn't Montreal shutting down basically on Sundays?
I don't
Like,
know.
or they, I know they
I'm
shut down
for
the car dealerships on both days. Like,
I think
Yes.
we've gotten so far away from having downtime and family time
Yeah.
that I'm not against it.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not
I
against it
completely
either.
agree.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Well, you just mentioned the car dealerships. Now,
Yeah.
it's not hurting their business
People
by
just
being
don't-
closed on Sundays.
No.
No, why would,
People
No.
know when to go.
Yeah,
Not at all.
people- exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And
you
know,
have no need to run out on a Sunday
Yeah.
to buy a car.
Yeah.
You talk about, do you remember? Of course I remember.
Let's just drive yours up
But
on
it-
Saturday
but it
and need
was-
one for Monday.
Yeah, it was nice, you know,
Yeah.
and, of
I
course.
mean, and you know everybody's off.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
and,
So then have
you know,
that.
it was better for families.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
people had, and everybody needs some downtime. Now,
Yeah.
you know, part of the problem with society is, you know, nobody gets enough downtime. So,
Yeah.
you
My-
know, we're all
My
spinning all the
dad's
time.
from Czech Republic in a small town compared to here, it's 20,000 people.
Mhm.
At noon, every day, almost all the retail
wow.
stores shut down. Like,
Yeah.
you cannot buy jewelry at noon any day, because they shut down for an hour, they go home, they have their lunch,
Yep.
they hang out with their family, and
Yeah.
then they go back to work.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
It's
modern day,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
What's the
Well,
town?
Uherski Broad.
Okay.
It's about 40 kilometers from Trenčín on the Slovakian
Yeah.
border.
Okay.
And a lot of South American countries, I mean, they do the same thing. They close
It's-
down for a couple hours.
Now, if you go to the bigger cities, then
Yeah.
it's not.
But
Not
I
quite the same,
think, well, let's go back a couple of years of what happened. Everybody got to be at home,
Yeah,
and they kind of understood like, oh wow, do I want to renovate this now finally?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like your home became so important after that. So it just becomes like your place of comfort, your place of like
Yeah.
Yeah.
relaxation, your place of entertainment. So that's when the
People
home
might
became.
say
Workspace.
It became home.
It became home. Yeah, exactly. It became home, and
Yeah.
and this is why I think we almost appreciate now our home a little bit more. What that's
Absolutely.
like, not like oh no, I need to shovel the driveway before I go to work kind of thing.
Yeah.
It
Like-
forced us to slow down and kind of
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
about
Take
stuff,
inventory
right?
of
Before it was just like, you didn't even notice that you weren't at home all the time, right? You just,
No.
you'd go to work, you'd do your
Yeah.
things, and then
Yeah.
spend a little bit of time. Now it's like, oh, never at home. I want to go home.
and so many of the larger companies have adopted that, you know, work-at-home policy. I mean,
Yeah,
right.
when they had to,
when they had to. Yeah,
but
they've
now
maintained it.
they've maintained it. So
Yeah.
in some companies, employees come in once a week, twice a week, and they're allowed to work from home.
Yeah, right.
And you know, as long as they're meeting certain standards of productivity.
Mhm.
And you know, I mean, let's face it, in our industry, I mean, we're probably as productive for most of us working at home.
right.
Yeah.
You know, you know, it's 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, and all of a sudden, you know, you're dealing with an offer.
Right.
But at least you don't have to drive out and drive 20
Right,
minutes
absolutely.
to an
Yes.
office to
Right.
deal with it. You're able to deal with it electronically very efficiently. So, you know,
Yeah.
And to
Thank-
further
thank
that
goodness.
too, even some of the bigger companies that are trying to mandate a back to the office policy are really struggling with that. They're
Yeah.
struggling with
Yeah.
retention because people will go somewhere where they can work from home or work
Mm.
from
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen now a friend of mine who his employer now wants to put productivity monitoring software on his workstation, right? So now you're getting to that side of it where,
Oh, yeah.
and he's like, I don't want to do that,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a trade-off. He wants to quit that job now, whereas he was happy to take it with him before.
I think when it comes down to, and this is just a personal preference, but if it comes down to management of employees off-site, if there's projects and deadlines and goals and they're hitting that, why are we micromanaging?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like, at the
Absolutely.
end of the day, do you need to know that I'm clicking my mouse every 30 seconds? Probably not.
Yes,
Yeah.
we need to know.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
People will always find a way around that. There's software that mitigates the surveillance and
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you have to let people work, and if they're hitting all their metrics, great. And if they're not, you can coach them up or coach them out. Like, at the end of the day, it's people aren't going to be happy if they're not doing a good job either, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like, okay, if I can do the entire job in, say, 4 hours, right? Do I really
Yeah.
need to be monitored for 8 for that day?
Right.
Should you be penalized on your time? Probably
Yeah.
not.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
when I used to actually work in an office in my previous job, I'd spend most of the time just on the internet surfing things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're just,
Yeah. There's a lot of that. Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, too, it's if you're someone who wants to move up in a company, you're probably going to ask for more responsibility or show that you can take on more responsibility. And if you're happy with where you are and how much you're making, you're probably going to value your time more.
Yep.
And then it's on the company to hire the people and promote the people that want to move up.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be on the employee.
Now, do you think, I always wondered this, even at the beginning of the pandemic, when people were working from home and now, like companies, they're realizing that it saves them money, right?
Yep.
And so what's happening to all that space?
That's one of the
Yeah.
reasons that there's
Yeah.
30% vacancy
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the core, because a
Yeah.
lot of companies are no longer,
Right.
they've scaled down.
Mm-hmm.
I leased some space downtown, you know, in the past, and I know some of those have gone to smaller spaces
Yeah.
on the outskirts
Mm-hmm.
to avoid the parking issues that they were having downtown, the cost
Right.
of the parking for their employees, and gone into smaller
Yeah.
spaces. So,
Canada Life
Yeah.
is a big one, right?
Yeah.
They're down to, I think you only have to go in the office once a week now.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, that's a lot of people that aren't making that trip downtown every
Right.
day.
yeah.
Right.
Think about it. If
Yeah.
you go to
TD,
the office
a lot of-
Yeah.
1 day a week, you're probably really going to actually enjoy it because you see your coworkers in person. It makes it special.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
you've got like a certain, like this is maybe just me, but I would go in with like, this is what I need to do today. I'm going to bang out these things.
Yeah.
And then connect with coworkers and then you're off the races. But I like the idea of having that flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think working
Yeah.
100% from home would get a little lonely
Yeah.
at times. You'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, I need actual people. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I kind of wondered that at the beginning of the pandemic and also how it would affect everything else. Like, so clothing too. Like, you're not buying as many dress clothes to go to work. You're not using gas. You're not leasing work vehicles.
Yep.
And it like just goes all the way
Parking
across,
spaces.
right?
Like
Parking
I know a lot of
spaces,
people that
yeah.
worked at Canada Life, they got rid of their parking pass because they're like, well, if I'm only here 4 or 5 times a month, why would I pay 125 or 50,
Yeah.
150, whatever they're,
What's daily parking at down like $12 a day or something like that?
yeah, something like that. So you
Yeah.
It used to be like $50 a month going on 1 day a week.
I think it's great working
yeah.
from home because if like you have small children or, you know, dogs, yeah, you can still do your work, but yet, you know, look after your children, or maybe you can do your work within 12 hours instead of the 8 that you would in the office. Not
Get
take
your
it
laundry
home.
I'm sure
done
there's a
during the day.
statistic on this, but
that's my thing.
how a person is productive when they're more calm,
Yes.
or when
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
surrounded by
Where they can really focus on what they're doing.
exactly
On
and
their level.
yeah,
Yeah.
And most people do spurts.
Yeah.
Spurts of
Right.
reading, spurts of writing,
Mm-hmm.
spurts of whatever it is that they need to do, and then need to come back and readjust or think about
Mm-hmm.
something.
Well,
Yeah.
who was it? Was it Zig Ziglar that said all work expands to the time allowed? I'm not
Yeah.
totally confident that was him
Absolutely,
that said it, but if
Yeah.
you're there for 8 hours or 9 hours,
It'll take you 8 or 9
it'll
hours.
take
That's
you 8 or 9
exactly what
hours.
I
If you
think,
know
yeah.
you can do it in 4 and get an extra 4 or 5 hours out of your day to do whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Or just get ready for the next day.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just you know, by taking a walk outside, clearing your mind, coming back to the same project that you were working on.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just like there it
It's
is.
night and day.
I'm not stuck anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Or like not having to ask permission to go to the washroom. Right?
Yeah.
like you're in elementary
Like-
school.
Oh
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that. Well, elementary school needs to change for that too.
Yeah.
It's like
That's even a
Stay
whole
in the
other
chair.
like 8-hour
Yeah.
podcast, right?
Oh my God,
About
yeah.
schools and
poor kids.
what they
yeah.
can and can't do.
Poor
Oh my
teachers
God.
too. Like
Oh, yeah.
they don't
Oh.
have another option until
Yeah.
to how to work on that. But
Yeah.
that's something about somebody
Oh,
else.
yeah.
Is gonna, let's focus on roundabouts.
can't solve all the issues at one
Yeah.
table
No,
talk,
but,
right?
but where it goes to is like, your home's important.
Yeah,
The traffic on the road is important, like how you manage that, you know what I mean? Revitalizing downtown cores are important, and it happens with, hey, I don't need to get in my car to go grocery shopping, even though it's close. But if we have a grocery store down there, and it's like somewhere that you want to go to, you know what I mean? Like, there's a few places just locally, so let's forget about the big name ones, but like Vincenzo's is a destination.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you get a hot lunch and you get to pick up that
Angelo's.
food. Remark, that's
Mhm.
that's like a destination you want to go to. So this is the same thing.
I always liked the Sunripe at Oxford
Sunripe,
and
yeah.
Adelaide, but they moved it now.
moved it, yeah.
Where they moved that to? I didn't know.
No idea, but
There's
it's
one on
it's
Fanshawe
big.
Park
Fanshawe,
Road.
Fanshawe
Yeah.
Park Road.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
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 Okay, I
Which
saw the one at
which is
Fanshawe Park
which is
Road.
so
I didn't
funny
know
because
that
they took great who knows what happened with their the amount of people that were going there, or rent changed, who knows, but like if you take a look at it from Remark to Sunripe to Angelo's,
Mhm.
you can get to it in within 15 minutes of each other.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I mean? It's not spread out throughout the city.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's why I
that's-
liked having the Sunripe there. Like,
I know.
I could walk
Yeah.
there if I wanted to. It was perfect if you're like, oh, I need a tomato for dinner. It's just like you
Yeah.
And they
jump
had
in the
like
car,
a nice stacked apples.
Yeah.
get a $6 tomato.
yeah. I was just gonna say, I bought oranges there once, and I was like, oh, a big bag, nice. I think it was like $18 for
Yeah.
this bag of oranges,
Yeah,
and I
it's
was
great,
like,
yeah.
they were the best
I was gonna say they're the
oranges
nicest
ever.
oranges you ever seen.
I bought
yeah.
them more than
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
But their stuff, they get it in like fresh daily.
They inspect every little
Yeah,
thing.
like the guy,
Yeah.
I don't know if he still does it, but he used to drive to Toronto for the market in the morning, and like he'd be there at like 4 a.m, buy all the stuff, and then have it sent back
So
to
old
London
school.
the same day,
Yeah.
and then
That's very old school.
it'd be on the
Yeah.
shelf the next day, right? So it's the freshest produce
Oh, yeah.
you'll ever get.
Yeah.
And there are a few of those pop-up shops, or a few of those shops in town now, like Shura's, they make all their stuff fresh daily, and then when it's done for the day, they just close.
Yeah,
So you don't know,
Yeah.
if you go to lunch, they might not be open,
that's right.
but you know, if
We
they
sold
are,
them for the
whatever you're
day.
gonna get there is gonna be like the best bread you've had in a long time, or the best donut.
What's
And
the
there's
new
the
place
office.
that opened up here on Richmond and Fanshawe Park Road? Where Best Buy is and in that
Is
plaza?
that
Oh, yeah,
Cobb's?
that's like a vegan
Cobb's? No.
health food place. It's, the owners of that actually bought one of my listings.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I haven't
thought
gone
it
in there
was
yet, but I
Cobb's.
mean, there are more popping up,
Yeah,
you know, all the
There's a lot
time,
of
but that's-
restaurants in town that don't have brick and mortar due to
Oh,
Uber
the ghost
Eats.
kitchens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's
oh, yeah,
a
Ghost Kitchen.
if there's a little well, the Ghost Kitchen's closed now.
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah, but there's places like Frankenfurter's downtown, and they've purchased individual menu items and branded them as different restaurants. So when you go on to the apps, it looks like 6 or 7 different. It's a wider net, but they're all coming out of one small kitchen, like the Ghost Kitchen.
yeah,
Okay.
And there's a lot of food options that are strictly delivery that, unless you're on the apps, you wouldn't even know. Yeah.
that's interesting.
Guys, we're almost at an hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
You guys wanna cut her off?
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah, definitely.
it's a lot
It's a
of,
good first run.
Do you guys wanna end with another fake laugh?
it's not a fake laugh now.